Algerian independence dominating a lot of the papers, isn't it?
That's right. What we just heard there, a bit understated affair in Algeria. It seems to be the case in the papers as well. Not a lot of jubilation, not a lot of, throwbacks to the 50 years. There is one, however, a couple of stories. One in Le Monde looks at how a number of celebrations are underway, or at least they're kind of a noble effort at recalling the past, conferences, documentaries, that kind of thing. And there are some events to which 9 countries have been invited, representatives of state, that kind of thing. And among them are the US, China, Russia, South Africa. But notably absent from the list is France. And that's because relations have been cool, kind of been on and off over the years. But recently what's come to light is the ongoing call by Algeria for France to apologize for the colonial experience. And they never have done. In fact, it took until about 1999 for the French to even acknowledge that there was a war of independence. Up until then, it used to be called something like crime control in the colonies, as it were. So there's still to this day, 50 years later, this huge divide. And if we go on to Le Soir in Algeria, one of the dailies there, they have a column that looks at just how much disappointment there is. This might explain why in the streets of Algiers and those kinds of places it's an understated affair, because this columnist goes as far to say is that the past 50 years shows how much they've gone against the ideals of the original revolution. They say, the original ideals of liberty and justice, they're completely been obscured. What's happened since then, various forms of despotism and dictatorship, it says in the article. Goes on to go even worse. They say that it's led up to the Civil War, of course, at the end of the 80s and the early 90s. And then in the aftermath of all that, even as the country recovers, they have abandoned any kind of efforts at liberal socialism and instead went for the anarchies of the market, so that people can't even get affordable childcare or healthcare. In fact, Le Soir, basically, it doesn't have anything at all positive to say over the past 5 decades.
Okay, well, let's cheer ourselves up then with some financial news, perhaps?
Yes, indeed. Why not? Let's look at Barclays yet again. Bob Diamond was speaking to Parliament yesterday, and the Telegraph, or the Independent rather, is talking about his efforts to basically absolve himself to some degree.
He loved Barclays, didn't he?
He said he loved Barclays, and there were about a dozen people, bad people, 14 of them, but he wasn't one of them. And so instead, he was talking about the efforts he made to kind of raise issues of how banks, how they were reporting. He even went so far as to say that the Bank of England's deputy governor had contacted him to say that bank rates need not be so high. Mm-hmm. In other words, a kind of an insinuation that the Bank of England at some level was involved in this kind of misreporting, or if it wasn't a nudge, it was at least a kind of a wink.
Mm-hmm. And if viewers are a bit sick of the whole sorry banking scene, is there a cure?
Oh my, look at that image in The Independent. Wasn't that something? So yes, there is one cure, and The Guardian might have it. It's called Move Your Money, and it's basically an effort to get people to realize that they are free to change their banks if they're not terribly pleased with the ethics or the way they're being run, so they can move their money to a different bank. We underestimate how easy it can be done. And the idea simply is to kind of monitor, take a look at the news, look at how your banks are behaving, whether they're involved in any scandals, and then, call up the next bank, such as Nationwide. They quote Nationwide as having week-on-week increase of new accounts being created, up by 80%. So obviously some people are benefiting from this recent burst of cynicism.
All right, Carl, thank you very much. That's Carl Brown with the International Papers on France 24. Still to come, markets, they're taking a bit of a breather from their rally to ponder the European Central Bank's next move. We're going to be looking at all of that in the business, and we'll be here after the break.